Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along one and all. You are joining me here in Le Mans Ultimate for the first round of the Multiclass Sprint Cup. We are just moving into qualifying now. We've got 18 cars here, 8 LMGT3s and 10 of the top class Hypercars ready to qualify around the world famous Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Ollie. Thank you all for coming along and joining me here tonight. Here we go, people rolling out of pit lane now. First car out of the pit box, I believe, might have been Ballas. Oh no, are there cars ahead? I think there might be. Stephen Fay's first man out of the pit box in that number 15 BMW Hybrid 8 Hypercar. Just coming through the Le Mans section and down towards Brussels. Named obviously because it points towards the capital city of Belgium, Brussels. Coming up next is the left-hander, commonly referred to as No Name, although it has at least two other names. Speakers or Jackie X are the two that it has been given over the years, and No Name, although it's supposedly not a name, is in fact a name. Through Pateron, double apex left-hander, very, very difficult to get right. In these hypercars, a little bit easier with the extra downforce that they carry compared to the LMGT3s. Then into Piff Paff or Lafania, whichever one you do prefer. Then we're straight into Campus, named so because, as you will see when we roll through on this track shot, oh maybe you won't, there is a college campus on the inside of that corner. And now the long run here towards Stabilo. And Stephen Fays doesn't like what he's seeing and has returned back to the garage. So who have we got now that's on close to starting a lap? No one? Oh, here we go, okay. It's going to be Christian Sipos in that number 27 Heart of Racing. Aston Martin is the first man around the final chicane there. And let's go for, tell you what, let's go for an onboard lap here. Braking down into turn one, easy place to lock up. Might get the benefit of some tow here from that new Ford Mustang on the inside. No, the Mustang lets him through. Up through Eau Rouge, 5th gear. Should be flat out in these cars, maybe not on the first lap. A lift on the first lap there. Yeah, I understand that. The tyres, I doubt up the temperature there for Sipos. Braking now into Le Mans, you want to take plenty of this inside curb, which he does. Hook the tyres over that inside curb in the second apex, which indeed, again, he does. Looking like a relatively tidy lap so far for Christian Sipos, but we have got Ballas Fair, who is just behind him in that number 95 United Autosports car, 6/10ths up in that first sector compared to Christian Sipos. And he is absolutely roaring right now, is Ballas. Through Piff Paff, or Lafang, whichever one you like. Through Campus, there's that college campus in the background. On the long run now down the back straight. should be positions and time to be found here in that McLaren. As you all know, it is very good through the air like that. And for some reason, that's rather frustrating. For some reason, the stream quality is not very good. Why are we only using 720p? For goodness sake, I do apologise for the stream quality, everyone. My output seems to be fine, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. Okay, output should be getting better. I'm trying my best to keep on top of everything here. It's the first time I've streamed from this PC since doing my Windows reset, so there might be a few little problems as we keep going here. I am trying to work them out. Okay, should have 1080p coming your way before too much longer. At least I hope we will. Why has my output gone down to 720? Right, okay, no. 720 is going to be the max we have for this stream, unfortunately. For goodness sake. Blimmin' reset, throw me off. Right, let's have a look at how the standings are looking after our first few laps here. A 2014 for Elia Earhart. That is in the number 51 Ferrari. Currently tops the times, leading by just over half a second to Alessandro Pavesi in the AF Corsa Privateer Ferrari entry. Then we've got Elias Fernando, a regular face here at Toga Motorsport, in the number 7 Toyota. He's in P3 as it stands right now. Hot on the tail of Alessandro Pavesi, actually. And Chris Tedder now goes to the top of the times. Just 4 tenths back. Just 4 tenths ahead of Elia Earhart, sorry. Top of the times for Chris Tedder in that number 6 Porsche Penske car. Really, really strong lap time for him. Moving down to the LMGT3 cars. And it is Christian Sipos in that Heart of Racing Aston Martin who is leading the way. Just a tenth ahead of SSG Aiden. Which is not a name that you're allowed to have in Le Mans Ultimate. You need to change it so that it's your actual first name and actual last name. You can be reported for this. So I would recommend not having it like that. Just over a tenth back from Aiden here is Ballas in that number 95 United Autosports McLaren. And then only just about a tenth further back from Ballas is Daniel De Haños. I'm going to go with De Haños. I think that's right. Unfortunately, my pronunciation of names is sometimes not the best. I do try. No, Henry, I understand. Obviously, when the game has restrictions on which characters you can have it, it becomes difficult. But I have a funny feeling that SSG Aiden's real name isn't SSG Aiden spelt with an X in place of an E. Have not seen any LMU streams before. Is the WEC style overlay from the game itself? Yes. So the overlay is actually something that that one of the employees, one of the game developers worked on in his own time, I believe. And that he has developed alongside the game and has made publicly available for anyone and everyone to use, which is absolutely wonderful. Looking at times at the moment, it looks like Aiden is just coming out of the pit lane. Cpos is in the pit lane. Ballas is out on track, but I'm not sure if he's improving. Let's have a little look-see. It was purple in the first sector by 0.04 of a second. So there is time in this lap for Ballas. It's just coming down to Bruxelles now. Through No Name /Speakers /Jackie X. And down towards Pateron now for the McLaren man. This needs to be a really strong middle sector for him to try and push his way towards the top of the times. He's only 0.3 back, and that fastest sector 1 is certainly going to be helping. Still just less than 20 minutes left to go of qualifying here. Almost look like track limits there for Ballas. I think he's managed to get away with it. Sector 2 split will be coming any second now. It's 2.5 down. It's not even a personal best for Ballas through there. Still a decent middle sector split, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to improve unless he can pull something absolutely spectacular out of what is only a 2-corner sector here at the end of the Spa-Francorchamps lap. I don't think it's going to be enough to gain any positions for Ballas. No, it's not. Ends up with a 2:21.908. He did improve his time, that one. It was an improvement, but just not quite the lap that he will have been looking for. As Elia Earhart, by the way, has gone to the top of the times and improves yet again to go 0.3 clear of Chris Tedder. Chris is just about to wind up to start a lap here. As you can see, that last lap and out lap, 2 minutes 16, 2 minutes 17, is not a flat-out push lap from these hypercars. So the number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsport in the hands of Chris Tedder begins the long run down towards Le Mans. Flat out all the way in these hypercars, or it should be. And it looks like it is. Whoa, hello. Little bit of game lag there, sorry about that. Obviously the Sector 1 split time just before we get into Le Mans. And it's 0.3 up on the fastest sector time so far in Sector 1. Chris Tedder absolutely flying in that Porsche Penske Motorsport car right now. And pulls out of the lap. Pulls out of the lap. Issue with fuel, possibly having a track limits warning. Stephen Fay's fastest now in the first sector, 32.814. Coming through campus, we're going to get the second sector split right now, looking to break his way closer towards those leaders. And I think he's invalidated. We've had no middle sector split from Stephen. So that's gone invalid, unfortunately, for Stephen Fays. He's going to be kicking himself for that, because that was a promising first sector time to try and gain a little bit more on what he's got at the moment, as he gets passed by, I believe that's Konstantin Pavlov, who has just jumped up to P3 in the standings again in the number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsport car. Goes 0.5 back from the leader, just under 0.2 to the next car. That is still Chris Tedder, who is in the pit lane. Stephen Fays, his lap off track at Kemmel. Oh, Chris, that's unfortunate. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, Chris Tedder confirming that it was an off-track excursion, unfortunately, that ended that qualifying run. But still, 15 minutes left to go. Unlimited qualifying tyre sets. I'm sure we'll see the Porsche Penske Motorsport car back out on track before the end of this session. Indeed, he already is back out on track. He's on an outlap already. Now looking down, has anything massively changed in the order? Indeed it has. In LMGT3, it's Berthold Limpar has gone to second, only just under a tenth and a half away from Christian Saipos in that number 27 Harder Racing. Brilliant lap for that number 44 Proton Racing Ford Mustang driver. Not going to be a time gain on this one, I don't believe. He says he's 3 seconds down in the middle sector, but I don't know if he is, because this could still... No, it's not going to be... Not going to be a brilliant lap, this one. Gained a lot of time in that final sector, though, by the looks of things. Oh, the timing line is way further down than I thought it was. I thought it was the ACC timing line. It isn't. Here we go, now a 20-car grid as Wouter Wirth joins the grid in the number 11. In the number 708, sorry, that's a Glickenhaus. We've got a Glickenhaus on the grid. God, I wasn't expecting that today. Love a bit of Glickenhaus. love it. And Konstantin Pavlov, by the way, improving again that last lap. He now goes within 3/10 of Elia Earhart's current fastest lap time. Chris Tedder should just be coming to the final corners now. Indeed he is. He's just about to start his next attempt for glory. If he can keep up the kind of pace that we saw from him in the first sector of his last qualifying attempt. Oh, it's all wobbly out of the final corner. He's going to keep this lap going, but it's not going to be the ideal run that he would have wanted in towards turn 1. Not this time. Keeps it just within track limits over the top of Radeon. Incredibly difficult. In these hypercars, they do move around a lot. 3/10 up in that first sector from Chris Tedder. What a sector time from the Porsche Penske man. This time he manages to keep it within track limits. Currently 3/10 up. It's a 32.630 through that first sector. 3/10 faster than anyone else so far in this session. Just got to nail the rest of this lap. Was that slightly outside track limits on the exit of Speakers? I think he's managed to get away with it, otherwise this lap would have been long done and dusted, I believe. Through Pateron, that car looking absolutely on rails at the moment for Tedder. Into Lafagna. Oh, and it's a spin for the number 6 Porsche Penske car and into the wall. Into the wall for Chris Tedder. That is going to be some heavy damage. Straight back to the pit lane. He's going to be hoping that he can get that fixed. Meanwhile, Alessandro Pavesi in the number 83A, of course, a privateer Ferrari entry, has gone fastest in the first sector by just 0.08 of a second. That primarily yellow Ferrari looking to work its way a little bit closer to pole position, currently about a second away, but looking like he has the speed in this car at the moment. Through Pateron again, the car looking incredibly settled. Into Lafagna, no spin for Alessandro Pavesi. We're going to be getting his middle sector split time just after Campus here. Difficult right-hander. Here's the split time, it's going to be coming. Oh, 0.5 down, but it's a personal best middle sector for him. That green lit up box around that time showing us that, and this will move him a big chunk closer to those front runners. Possibly not gaining a position, and he's going to get hampered by an Aston Martin at the very end of his lap. That is not going to have helped with his time. To the line, I don't think it's going to be an improvement in the end. It's not an improvement. 6 tenths down at the end of the lap in that final sector because of that issue. Really, really unfortunate for him. Let's see what Konstantin Pavlov is able to do. Again, a number 6 Porsche Penske Motorsport. First sector time is going to be coming right now. It's 2.6 tenths up. Almost 3 tenths up there for Konstantin Pavlov. Remember, he's only 0.281 away from pole at the moment. So all he needs in the rest of this lap is 200ths compared to the leader, and he'll find himself on pole, provisionally. Still 10 minutes left to go this qualifying session, and Elia Earhart is on another lap as well. So possibly more time to come. Elia Earhart is slower through the first sector than Konstantin Pavlov on this lap. Here comes the middle sector time. It's 8 tenths down. Not a personal best for Konstantin Pavlov. 54.7. Really not a great middle sector time for Konstantin there. I'm sure he'll go again, but he's not going to be massively happy with that one. Wow, Christian Sipos has gone 5 tenths clear of the field on his lap just now. A 2:21.268. A brilliant, brilliant lap, as you can see on the standings board to the side. Yeah, 2:01.492 for Konstantin Pavlov. That's about 6 tenths down on his best lap time. 5 tenths down on his best lap time. He needs to find something a little bit more. Meanwhile, Elia Earhart not having a great lap either. Setting up for another push lap here is the Ferrari number 51 driver. Let's have a look at what's going on in the realm of GT3. I don't think there's much happening at the moment. I will keep an eye on our... Oh, hello. 5 tenths up for Konstantin Pavlov in the first sector. 5 tenths. That is huge. A 32.4, the fastest Sector 1 time we have seen so far from anyone. Taking away that fastest Sector 1 time from Christian Tedder, who has just gone faster himself, I believe. Done a 2:01.059 to go just outside of 3.5 tenths behind the leader. But Konstantin Pavlov, he's the man we're watching right now. That number 6 Porsche looking very, very settled. Sector 2 split coming up. It's 5 tenths down, but in the green. So it's a personal improvement. This could still be close. It's going to be this final sector that makes or breaks here for Konstantin Pavlov. The Sector 1 time would suggest he's got top end speed, which would help through this final sector on the brakes, on the anchors, into the bus stop chicane. Just one apex to go now. Can this be pole for Konstantin Pavlov? Will it be? Won't it be? He's going to cross the line. It's going to be close. It's pole position. It is pole position. Pole position by 7 thousandths of a second, provisionally. 7 thousandths back to Elia Earhart. What an incredible lap from Konstantin Pavlov. Cutting now to Chris Tedder again, having problems through Lefania. This is going to be probably an improvement for Chris Tedder. It'll move him closer to that front two, but not much more, I don't think, at this time. And it's a spin for Chris Tedder again into the penultimate corner. He returns to garage. It'll be I expect fuel and new tyres for Chris Tedder before he tries one more time. Only 5.5 minutes of qualifying left to go, so it is only going to be one more attempt really for Chris Tedder. He needs to be out the pit lane as soon as possible. Elia Earhart with a personal best through Sector 1. That might be slightly worrying, because the middle sector is where Elia Earhart has been ridiculously quick. Although that could have been off track at Speakers. Ferrari still pushing, so possibly not. Maybe that's more of a time-conscious thing. Oh, almost off track through Pateron, but manages to gather it up. Earhart really, really pushing here. Through Campus, again, we'll get the middle sector split. What is it for Elia Earhart? It needs to be good. It is good. It's 2.5 tenths up. And this puts them almost dead even. Almost dead even with Konstantin Pavlov's time at the moment. But there'll be more. That middle sector time is good. Incredibly, incredibly good. Elia Earhart is about to rocket to provisional pole position with about 4 minutes left on the clock, I expect. Here we go, the Ferrari through the final apex at the bus stop. Sideways out of the bus stop, that's not going to have helped. I think it'll still be provisional pole. It's going to be close, is it? No, it's not quite. Time lost. That sideways moment cost provisional pole for Elia Earhart. Will have overheated the tyres. Not what they needed at all. Meanwhile, Alessandro Pavesi takes the fastest middle sector time of anyone so far. The first sector wasn't brilliant for Alessandro, but there might be some time in this. An improvement would be nice for the number 83. Yeah, of course, a man right now. Can he get it? It is indeed an improvement. A 201.4 moves him to within 7.5 tenths of the pole time at the moment. Elia Earhart again 2 tenths up. 2 tenths down, sorry, on the fastest sector 1 time, but it's an improvement. A personal best off track. That's going to have invalidated that lap, I would expect, for the 51 driver, but they will keep pushing. Get another lap out of these tyres. Still going for it. Is this lap possibly still valid? I don't expect it will be. No, it's not. No middle sector split. So that lap time has been invalidated. So now it's all about where Elia Earhart can place this car with 1 lap to go. Konstantin Pavlov has started what will be his penultimate qualifying lap. A build lap here for Konstantin, 2-3 tenths down in the first sector. I expect it'll be the same for Chris Tedder, yeah, 4.5 tenths down through that first sector, although he's a little bit further up the track. Build laps for both of the Porsche number 6 drivers. Elia Earhart, this has to be a push lap. There's not enough time in the tank for Elia Earhart to do a lap after this one, so this is all or nothing for this number 51 driver. Here we go. For pole position, needs to find 8 thousandths of a second to beat the current provisional pole time. Sector 1 split. It's 3 tenths down. In fact, 0.333 down, and it's off track for Elia Earhart, and that's it. That's it. The only challenger now available is Chris Tedder to that pole position that is currently held by Konstantin Pavlov, sorry. Is there to be a final twist in this tale? Chris Tedder ahead on track. Sector 1 split needs to be good. Needs to be at least a personal best. It's a fastest overall. By 0.016 of a second. It's not by a lot. But Chris Tedder, he's not worried about a lot. And it's off track for Chris. It's off track. That's the end. That's the end. Chris Tedder pulls off. He managed to improve on his last lap to within half a tenth of the pole position time. But when all is said and done, that is curtains for Chris Tedder, unfortunately. Elias Fernando has started his final lap of the session. He only needs 33 thousandths of a second to start inside the top 5 and get ahead of Stephen Fays in that number 15 BMW. It's 6 tenths down in the first sector for Elias though, and he looks like maybe he's pulling off and stopping that lap. Indeed he is. Stein Donkervolk 8 tenths down in the first sector. Not much going there, unfortunately for him. And he looks like that's his lap done as well. Hayden Sweet over the top of Eau Rouge. Although it looks like he's on a relatively cool lap as well. I think that's everyone done. Certainly no one left running. I mean, Konstantin Pavlov is still running in Hypercar, but there's no real need to be. Patrick Den may be able to find time if there's a decent middle and final sector here, but unfortunately neither of them have even personal bests. Don't think it's going to be an improvement for Patrick. Or it might be. Indeed it is. An improvement for Patrick Den. Takes him inside the top 5. Meanwhile, George Stevens down and down again, unfortunately, on his personal best sector times. Coming towards Stabilo for the final time. Can George Stevens find anything out the final corner? It's wide and hence probably invalid. And I don't think there's going to be any time found. Indeed, there's not. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, that is all that she wrote for this qualifying session. And we now move into an hour-long race. And let's bring you our wonderful starting order. Now that we, once George Stevens has returned to pit lane, we'll move into the qualifying session. Once George returns to pit lane.
Teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
Here we go. So your starting order, ladies and gentlemen. Lining up on pole is Konstantin Pavlov in that number 6 Porsche, alongside Elia Earhart in the number 51 Ferrari, ever so close in the end, just 7,000 separating them. Chris Tedder lines up in third with Alessandro Pavesi, rounding out row 2 on the grid in the 83 AF Corsa. Then it's Stephen Fays in the 15 BMW and Elias Fernando in the number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing on row 3. Stein Donkervolk and Johnson make up row 4. Hayden Sweet and Richard Mazan in the number 4 and number 83 cars respectively line up on row 5. And the final car in Hypercar is Wout Wout in the number 708 Glickenhaus. Pole in LMGT3 is Christian Saipos in the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Then it's all Mustang, Limpar and Aiden on row 2 of the LMGT3 grid, with Ballas and Patrick Den in the McLaren and Aston Martin respectively on row 3. Daniel Dahanos and George Stevens make up row 4 of the LMGT3 grid. Then it's Michael Thompson and Pierre Cousin rounding out the 20 cars that we have here, I believe. Indeed it is. All Mustang again to round out the order here. And we are going to be getting rolling very, very shortly, I believe. About 30 seconds left on the race countdown. Tell you what, that ticked past far faster than I was expecting it to. An hour of racing here at the wonderful Spa-Francorchamps, coming your way any second. Get your predictions in chat. Who do you think is going to be our winner in Hypercar and in LMGT3 after an hour, 60 minutes of racing around here? And another question for those of you in chat.
Formation lap has started.
Do you think that we'll see the Hypercars making a pit stop? Or do you think they will be in maximum fuel save mode and will pit as little as possible? As we've got someone who hasn't managed to move away from the grid. I'm not sure who that is. I think it's Stein Donkervolk who's had to go back to the pit lane. So here we go. Konstantin Pavlov. Out the penultimate corner. Sounds like contact, possibly, coming through the bus stop chicane there before we even started the race. And we are going to be...
Green flag.
Green.
Flag.
Here we go. It's green here in Spa-Francorchamps. And Elia Earhard looks like they have got a brilliant jump towards the outside at turn 1 here. It's not enough. Chris Tedder locking up on the inside, trying to gain position on that number 51 Ferrari. Squeezes them a little bit towards the edge of the track, perfectly within the rules. Chris Tedder, I think, is ahead. Indeed he is, up to P2. Chris Tedder off the start of this race. Absolutely brilliant start from him. He'll be very happy about that one, I'm sure. And Chris Tedder looking for the move to P1 as well. Chris Tedder all the way to the lead. The two Porsche drivers come together. Pavlov and Tedder making contact through the kink on the Kemmel Straight. Who could have seen that coming? Certainly not me. Christian Saipos still leads in the LMGT3 class. I have a funny feeling that Pavlov is not going to be best pleased about that from Chris Tedder. Through Bruxelles. Oh, contact again. That time it was Earhard, sorry, getting into the back. And I think we've lost Wouter. Indeed we have. The Glickenhaus off track in the background. Back to the lead action though. As Elia Earhard looking to get ahead of Konstantin Pavlov. Oh, almost contact. But I think everyone's made it through. Yellow flags momentarily displayed again as Wouter now becomes a DNF. First car retired on lap 1. Watching from the sky over Chris Tedder, the man who went from P3 to P1. Is there going to be a move here from Elia Earhard? Looking up the inside of Stabilo. That's never going to happen. Of Blanchimont, sorry. And now under threat as the AF Corsa of Pavesi looks to go around the outside. Is he going to rejoin and take out Stephen Faze? He does. I saw that coming from a mile away. Stephen Faze turned to the final corner and there's been all sorts of cars collected in the background there. What is going on? Johnson suffering. Stephen Faze well down towards the back of the pack. But at the front, these three still connected. No longer is Alessandro Pavesi part of this pack, as Hayden Sweet has pitted on this first lap, possibly damage for that number 4 Porsche Penske car. As is there an opportunity here for Ballas Fair? He's alongside Aiden. How? Christian Saipos has dropped to the back of this pack. What's happened to Christian Saipos? I've missed that. Was there contact with Aiden? I think there might have been around the same time as all of that was happening with the Hypercar pack through the final corners. But Christian Saipos all the way to the back of the pack, 14 seconds off the back of the pack as it stands, which puts Aiden in the lead ahead of Ballas in that number 95 United Autosports car. Not the only place where we might see moves though. Patrick Den on the back of Berthold Limpar at the moment. Chris Tedder just pulling away, opening up that gap at the moment, up to almost a second. But at the front of the LMGT3 field here, things are a little bit closer, and things are a little bit closer as well for Alessandro Pavesi right now, chasing down another of the AF Corsa yellow liveried Ferraris. That is Richard Mazan. He's chasing down right now through Jackie X, looking to start working his way back up the order. Alessandro Pavesi after that contact with Stephen Fays earlier on. But at the moment just being held up, not able to find a way past is Alessandro Pavesi. Possibly a little bit of damage on that front right corner from the contact with Stephen Fays through the exit of the bus stop. Turned the number 15 BMW right round and dropped it down towards the back of this hypercar pack. Here we go, Pavesi now in the tow. Sensible enough not to go for a move through Blanchimont. Does he try a lunge into the bus stop? You know he does. He's alongside, he does get there. Side by side for the two Ferrari AF Corsas. And Pavesi does gain that position. Was he off track whilst doing so? I think he might have been. I think Pavesi's going to have a hard case arguing that if that one gets reported. That looked like a pretty shut and dry off-track overtake to me. And he's now going to have his work cut out. 3 seconds back from Elias Fernando. Needs to gain that time, and then a further 4 seconds back from the podium, currently rounded out by Elia Earhard, who is still sticking to the back of Konstantin Pavlov, who is being dropped by Chris Tedder. 1.5 seconds now, that gap that Chris Tedder has built in race spec. That Porsche man absolutely unstoppable, or so it seems so far. We're going to jump over now to the mid-pack battle in LMGT3s. As is that someone's rear wing sat on track there? That's kind of what it looked like, no? I think we've possibly got... We've got yellow flags out, but I'm not sure who for. Oh, I do know who for. I think they might have been momentarily for Stein Donkervolk. I'm not quite sure who all these yellow flags are for, because I can't see anyone particularly having issues. Certainly not for Hayden. Not quite sure who else they might be for. Is it Stephen Fays, DNF, and Elias Fernando? Elias Fernando's gone as well. Alessandro Pavesi suddenly finds himself just 6 seconds back from the podium here as two hypercars DNF within seconds of each other. Stephen Fays and Elias Fernando both DNFing at almost the same time. Not quite sure what's happened there. to the Toyota and BMW drivers respectively. Stephen Faye's obviously embattled earlier on, involved in that collision with Alessandro Pavesi at the final corner. I cannot tell you what went wrong there. Here we go, Elia Earhart really chasing. Yellow flags out on track again. I'm not sure who that might be for. I think it might be for Berthold Limpar. Is he moving slowly? I think he is. There's no rear wing on that Mustang. There is no rear wing on that Mustang at the moment for Berthold Limpar. What has happened there? I would assume contact with Patrick Den or Daniel Dehanos, possibly. But that Mustang, notably wingless, and he's going to find it difficult. I'm going to stay watching him trackside for when he goes up Eau Rouge, because this is about to be possibly the funniest thing I've seen all year. Up Eau Rouge, the rear end of that car is going to step away from him. There it is. Big spin for Berthold Limpar, straight to the wall. And I expect that'll be a retirement now for Berthold Limpar. He'll return back to the pit lane. I think that will spell the end of his race, unfortunately. As Pierre Cousin and Christian Saipos having a fight at the moment. I think that was Saipos getting past, actually, Pierre Cousin. As he looks to come back from whatever he had go wrong on the opening lap as well. Christian Saipos dropping down the order just a couple of laps into the race, and already Spa taking its toll on the grid size here, down to 8 cars in each category at the moment. Only just more than 10 minutes into this race. Elia Earhart closing down on the back of Konstantin Pavlov now. Could there be a move here before too much longer? The gap to the leader. There it is, up the inside from Elia Earhart. A little bit of rubbing his racing through the middle of the bus stop. I don't think Konstantin Pavlov took too kindly to that. Possibly a little bit bullied out of the way. Elia Earhart closing in there on Chris Tedder whilst the lap traffic process began. Are we going to see a fight for the lead in the next couple of laps? I think we probably will. Gap back out to 1.2 seconds already, and now Elia Earhart is going to have to be on the defensive. Konstantin Pavlov just 3/10 back at the moment. Sorry everyone, just had to step away for a second there. Lost another car whilst I've been gone. Stein Dunkervolk retiring from the race now, as this lead battle is down to just 3/10 of a second. Elia Earhart putting the pressure on Chris Tedder now. Unfortunately, the middle sector is going to be Elia's best hope. And the middle sector is the worst for overtaking around this Spa-Francorchamps track. No hope that lap for Lyra Hard. Up the inside, here we go, there's the move. Lyra Hard forces his way up the inside on Chris Tedder into turn 1. And passed for the Ferrari man. Guru Rouge, we'll see if that stays. Chris Tedder looks like he has a brilliant run coming out of the top of Radeon, but I'm not sure if it's meant to be this time. Forced to go around the outside. At Lecombe, a little bit of contact between the two, but nothing position defining or race defining. And now everything cools off again. Balash massively closing in on Hayden here. Yellow flags out again. I'm not sure who for. Could it be Mr. Hayden Sweet? Indeed it is. This looks like it might be race over for Hayden. Indeed it is. Back to the pits, and it's a DNF for Hayden Sweet, unfortunately. Now down to just 14 cars on track. But the lead fight is alive and well. Balash with an incredible run out of that final corner and through turn 1. Now right on the tail of Aiden at the front of this pack. And are we going to see a move sometime soon? I think there's a chance. Meanwhile, in the lead, it's still Elia Earhard. Oh, back to Balash. Almost alongside into Buon, but not quite. Now Ballas having to go from attack to defence. Again, a yellow flag out. Don't know who for. Doesn't look like anyone's losing much time. That's a lie. Chris Tedder's losing a lot of time. Has there been contact between Chris Tedder and Konstantin Pavlov that I've missed whilst looking at that GT3 battle? I think there might have been. Chris Tedder looks like he might have gone around out of Puon. And now letting Alessandro Pavesi through. I would assume that means that Chris Tedder has got some damage that he's having to contend with here. We'll see if he comes into the pit lane to fix that anytime soon. Chris Tedder tries to get up the inside of Pavesi through turn 1. That move hasn't quite come off. They're going to be side by side through Eau Rouge and Radeon. And ooh, almost contact. Pavesi massively cuts the top. Chris Tedder goes past on the outside, off track possibly. Side by side now, Chris Tedder I think lets Pavesi have the position back. I'm not quite sure what's going on. But stays behind for now, does Chris Tedder. These guys now 16 seconds back from the lead fight. Looks like Chris Tedder though, falling back a little bit from Alessandro Pavesi at the moment. Yeah, over a second back now for Chris Tedder and Alessandro Pavesi. I think that's possibly the end of the road for that. What's not the end of the road is this battle within the LMGT3 field. Daniel Dehanos going way off track there over the top of Eau Rouge and Radion, and now looking to try and get a run on Balazs. Looking to go up the inside at Lecombe. Balazs is still there. Lets Daniel through for now. These guys both have to watch out, be ultra clean, because Patrick Den has managed to stay with them and will look to pick up any little incidents. If there's any sort of contact between these two, Patrick will jump on the scraps and pick up any positions that he can. But Balazs looks like he's fallen back a little bit, actually, from Daniel Dehanos through that middle sector. Possibly just where that Mustang is stronger, but I'm not entirely sure. .5 seconds down the gap of the front of Lyra Erhard, managing to pull away in that last section of traffic management. Daniel Dehanos now within a second of Aiden, our current overall leader, as we approach halfway through this race. As Alessandro Pavesi has been re-overtaken by Chris Tedder. I've missed that, my bad. But Chris Tedder now back ahead and into the podium positions again. Got those tyres back under control in terms of temperature. And now everything is right again. Ahead of Pavesi, who's lapping Balázs as well. Pavesi almost looking for a move to the inside. Chris Tedder just covers it off through the final chicane. No opening at all. Pavesi now well behind, although catches up to Chris Tedder a lot in the braking zone. And Balázs, has he pitted? How has Balázs ended up so far down the order? Has he made a pit stop? I think he must have done. Sector 3 lap time was 91 seconds. I think he's made a stop, splitting this race in half. So Balázs, I think, having made a pit stop, and we've now got a fight for the lead between Aiden and Dahanos. In LMGT3, Alessandro Pavesi hits the pit box as well. Will be more difficult to save virtual energy around here with those two massive long flat out sections, turn 1 through to Le Com, and obviously from campus all the way through to the bus stop section as well. Side by side now for the lead. Aiden holds position up the inside into Le Com. Absolutely no doubt about that. Very late on the brakes from Aiden, although he's wide of the apex there. He's going to have to watch out into Brussels. Could there be a move here for Dahanos? Indeed there is up the inside. It's very late on the brakes. He manages to get it stopped. Brilliant move from Daniel Dahanos as he moves into the lead of this race for the very first time. The first time that Aiden hasn't led since the early laps when Christian Sipos had his problem. He's now DNF'd as well. In the pits now is Balázs. Balázs is now in the pits, pit in. He must have had an issue on his last lap. He's now in the pit lane. Is it for a pit stop or is it a drive-through penalty? May well have been a drive-through. I think that's going to have put him a lap down. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure what's happened there for Ballas. Daniel Dahanos looking like he might just be able to pull away from Aiden here a little bit. No time gained in the toe down the Camel Straight. And Aiden not really able to have definitively better pace. I think these guys are pretty equal. George Stevens now in the pit lane. And Hayden now right on the edge of that seconds gap to Dahanos, so he's not going to be getting much of a benefit in the way of slipstream anymore. Gap's just opening up now. Patrick Den in the pit lane. Not really much happening out on track at the moment. Alessandro Pavesi chasing down Zed Johnson. But other than that, everyone is pretty spaced out. Here we go, Alessandro Pavesi has closed right up to the back of Zed Johnson. This move is not going to take long to get done, I would expect. Oh, and punted. Alessandro Pavesi trying to get past Zed Johnson and almost turns another BMW in the final corner. Possible move here for Alessandro Pavesi, looking into Pateron, doesn't quite come off. Always a risky move to attempt. And almost a half spin there for Alessandro Pavesi. The closing speed to Zed Johnson just far more than he expected. And Elia Earhart has, I think, pitted, I hope pitted at least. Either that or had a serious issue in the final sector. 15 minutes left to go in this race. And now Zed Johnson into the pit lane. So Alessandro Pavesi now 46 seconds behind the next car for position. Meanwhile, Pierre Cazin has been closing up to the back of Patrick Den. Although I believe Cazin still with a pit stop to make. Because I'm dropping back from Patrick down there. Might have been an overtake the other way that I just missed. Aiden now, having made a pit stop, closing up behind Pierre Cazin. There's the move for Aiden past Pierre Cazin. Pierre not making that difficult for Aiden. I think he knows that that Aiden has the overspeed. And contact in the pit lane for Aiden and Pierre Cazin. What has happened there? People forgetting how the pit stops work here in LMU. There is no contact like there is in iRacing. So we cut to Daniel Dahanos leading the way at the moment, the man in the Mustang yellow Proton Racing car for this LMGT3 pack, having fought his way past Aiden just a